All right, welcome back to Out of Touch. First time in a couple of weeks, and I guess first time with our new bi-weekly schedule officially. I guess the last couple episodes we've released have been bi-weekly, but this will be the first time since we've kind of decided that's the way things are going to be moving forward. And really, I kind of think the identity in general of this podcast is probably going to take a bunch of different forms over the next however many weeks or months, whatever it may be. One thing that I think Dustin and Mitchell that, and maybe you two don't think, about this the same way that I do, but I hope Out of Touch never dies, even if it looks very different. Maybe at some point it doesn't involve Dustin. Maybe at some point Mitchell can't do it anymore for whatever reason. But I always, in some way, shape, or form, even if I only have to do or decide to do one of these once every couple of months, I always want to have something where I can just pop on here and just talk about whatever it is that may be on my mind. So Out of Touch, as I was saying, I guess at the beginning, it's gonna not be necessarily what it was in the beginning, but that's how all shows evolve, right? So John, I'm here with you. That's my name. Dustin's here as well, and Mitchell, the guy at the bottom, that's his name. And we're here with you once again for the first time in a couple of weeks. So welcome in. I'm glad to be talking with you guys again.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
What is your question?
Mitchell had peanut butter. What were you dipping in the peanut butter?
I was going to get some apples, but...
it is an elite snack. I have peanut butter and apple like every other day.
Yeah, but I didn't get to it. I was preoccupied. We started, and then we stopped, but now we're back, so...
Yeah, that's true. This is take 2 for those of you who are watching. I won't explain what happened. Maybe down the road. I guess there would never be a reason to explain what happened. It has nothing to do with any of us three, but there was an outside disturbance that forced us to reset that has thankfully been rectified now.
Yes. We're all set now.
We are all set. Mitchell, what's new with you? You seem like you got, I know I don't want to, you don't have to dig into your deepest, darkest thoughts, but what's running through your brain right now?
I just got a lot of stuff going on with work. Just battling, man. It's the end of the year, which is our biggest, by far, laser season is what people call it. There's a lot of tax write-offs when you buy capital equipment, which is what I sell. So I've been running and gunning, just working a whole bunch, doing some concrete jobs, just doing all kinds of different stuff. It's been a lot of work, so I'm a little bit tired.
Yeah, being tired is not fun.
No. What about you, Dustin?
Well, I can't say I'm tired because I don't have a baby, nor do I work 3 different jobs.
Well, I think it's okay to have different levels of tired because no matter who we are, we're all going to have our difference. We're never going to be able to relate to every little version of our lives, I guess, with each other, right?
That's probably true. I'm trying to think like what has been going on.
I do want to ask both of you. Oh, go ahead. I
was sad I missed you in Bloomington, man. I literally did not get your text until Sunday morning.
We still have the gift. I'm going to have to send it to you now.
It's crazy. I was in the tailgate lots early, and my mom, this is just a little insight into how the service was. My mom texted or called my wife. She was watching our 3-month-old, called her, and I can't hear a word she's saying because we get no service. So I had to sprint a mile outside of the tailgate lots to get away from all those people just to be able to call her back. Her question was so stupid. It was like, does she sleep at 3:30 or 4 or something like that? But you get that instant panic, like, oh no, something's happened. It was our first night away from the baby. So we had some of the new parent jitters going on for sure.
Yeah, that's got to be scary. I've heard of, our friends who have a pretty an older baby than you do, but it's always tough from what I can tell whenever you give the baby away to somebody else, even if it is, of course, a family member for
just
a night.
Giving it away.
Hopefully it's a family member, right? Dustin, I don't want to ask you, and I know this is a better podcast to do this than the In Touch show, just because it's more nonsense. I don't know that I would go into this necessarily, even though you were in attendance for Indiana versus Nebraska. But what I'm more interested in is why you and Abby had such a bad time with the fans around you.
They just were I'm not going to get into it because a lot of our people probably are Indiana fans, but we had an incident where people were spitting on people from Nebraska.
Love it.
That was they got kicked out. That was the
Really?
primary example.
So the Indiana fans were spitting on
yes,
not necessarily Abby, but other Nebraska fans in the area.
Yes, correct. Other people around us.
So what was it? I mean, this is probably a stupid question, but was it just people who were overtly intoxicated and shouldn't have been in that type of situation?
I don't think so. No, it didn't look like it. They were younger. They were probably college age kids, maybe a little bit older, but so that was a problem. That was the primary example.
Wow. Well, that's sad. I hate that you all were in a naughty section of Memorial Stadium.
I can confirm that Indiana fans do not know how to act right now. There's literally nothing you could say that would surprise me that happened.
Yeah.
They don't know how to. I don't know how to act. I could see literally anything happening in the rest of the season. We've never experienced anything like this. There's so much more excitement on the campus for this than any basketball season that I've ever remembered.
I mean, the closest I've seen to fans for specifically the football team getting too unhinged was a few years ago when they flipped the table for the Cincinnati tailgate when they lost.
No, this is a different breed of cat now. Indiana fans are out, and they are venomous.
They're acting like they've been there before, right?
I am one of them. I'm going to be honest. I'm one of them. I got on campus. I was ready. I didn't care who it was. They're going to hear about it from me. We've been listening to people call us trash, the losingest team for the longest time. And maybe I have a different, I'm not saying it's right. It's wrong. But what I'm telling you is it's the reality. Maybe I come from a little different perspective because I was on the team. I was part of the working and going to practice, and you go to class and the teacher makes fun of you on Monday when you lose by 3 points to Michigan. I got a little maybe extra. Mr. Business Law Professor, thanks for that. I'll never forget it. Walked out of that class, never went back. But I can tell you, I don't know how to act right now. I don't think there's anybody that can touch me. I feel invincible. And that it needs to – I don't know how to stop it. That's just what I'm going to tell you. This is what I'm going through. Outside of all the work, there's always in the background a touch of invincibility because I have the best football team in the entire United States.
Two of the best football teams because you have your fan base.
Indiana
really
is
right?
the best team that I have watched this year. And we can talk about whatever we want to talk about today, but that's why we're a little unhinged.
That's fair. I will say that there were certain people around us who were very nice, very polite, stayed the whole game.
It's crazy.
That was great. But it's kind of like the thing, like the few ruin it for the mass. And I think that's for sure probably what happened in that situation. But yeah, that was not the most pleasant experience. Now, here's what's funny though. I did warn her because we are going to the Purdue Indiana game.
Oh, it's going to be way worse.
That's what I said.
Actually, it probably won't.
You don't think so?
No.
I've been to there. When
Indiana
I was in college,
is going to blast them, dude.
That's correct.
By a million.
That's why I think it'll be bad.
And even though Indiana blasted Nebraska, we had been told it goes back to people just look at that Indiana logo and they're like, well, it's Indiana. Well, it's Indiana. We listened to it all year. We ain't played nobody. Big bad Nebraska, who I told you on your podcast, John, sucked too. I told you they sucked, and they do suck, but that doesn't matter. We had heard how good this team was. They had all this firepower, and we smoked them, and we just unleash the beast. Purdue has almost gotten to a point it's a bad situation going on in West Lafayette.
Indiana's going to win by 70 points. I don't even think that's an underestimation.
I don't understand what's going on. This is how I know that it's bad. And I'm sure that Purdue fans, if you're listening to this, have gotten this way about Indiana in the past couple of years. They're so bad that you kind of cheer for them. I wanted them to beat Illinois. I have never once in my life said, "Oh, maybe," maybe. But
I thought part of that was because you thought Ryan Walters was a pretty nice dude when you went golfing.
He was really nice. He's an awesome, awesome guy. So I do hate to see that it's happened to him. But that's one of the worst teams. I think that the Indiana from last year versus the Purdue from this year would be an epic matchup.
Oh, that would be. I think that Indiana team would have beat this team by 2 touchdowns.
No way. Like late in the season, Indiana?
Yeah, I think so.
After they've already lost a million games?
Late in the season, Indiana last year was very weird and oddly competitive when they had no right to be.
I guess that's – what year am I thinking of then when they lost in Rutgers by 75?
That was the 2-10, 2021.
Okay, so that's the team I'm thinking of. Maybe it was the year right before. Those two teams, clash of the anti-Titans. I think the world would just break in half if those two juggernauts met on Saturday afternoon.
Just be like that NCAA football. Just break out the mascots and have them play.
100%. The police would come and just take the bucket and keep it at the police station. Like, no team deserves this.
Yeah.
What's the most out of pocket you've been as a fan? I'll share a quick story because this might be a bad example, but this is something that. So whenever this is in middle school, by the way, I was a very most people when they're a kid, but if you get into sports early. And especially if you fall in love with a team, you can be very unhinged for a lot of bad reasons when you're a kid. And I remember being at an Indiana versus Kentucky baseball game, of all things, a baseball game at Simbauer Field before they even played at Bart Kaufman. This is literally like a high school stadium environment. And Indiana was getting the doors blown off of them for the majority of that game. I don't remember what the score was going into the 9th inning or whatever, but it was something along the lines of like 15-8 or something. Kentucky was killing Indiana, whatever it was. So in the bottom of the 9th, Indiana rallies to send it to extra innings. And I'm going insane, right? Because I'm just a cute little 6th or 7th grader raucous Indiana fan. And then you get into, I think you only went into one extra inning, but Indiana like loads the bases up or whatever. They just need one hit to kind of finish it off. And I remember the Kentucky pitcher's name was Kyle. And I went up to like the fence because in Simbauer Field, it's such an old school style of stadium. You can just walk up to the fence and just kind of hang out there. And I yelled, "Don't mess up, Kyle," as like an evil 6th grader would, not in the way that I'm saying it right now. And right after the pitch happens, the whichever Indiana baseball player, I think it might have even been like Jared Sabrin. I don't know if either of you two know who I'm talking about. But he smacks the game-winning hit, knocks the player in, and I'm going insane. I'm probably the only – I had no reason to be that excited for a regular season baseball game between two teams that probably had losing records, if I'm not mistaken. But when you're a child, you don't care, right?
That's pretty mellow.
And I know, that's what I said. Maybe it wasn't that good of a story. It's just what I always think about when I think of, like, why was I acting like that? Because I never did that in any other situation.
Yeah, maybe I should go last.
Yeah, I went first because I knew mine would be underwhelming. I'll make that clear.
I'm sure I have plenty of stories, but I was just gonna say you can act like that as an adult.
All of mine are as an adult.
Fortunately, I've I guess mellowed out as an adult. I had to come into Jesus with my fandom at one point where I felt like I cared way too much, and it was when Indiana basketball lost to Ohio State and they cut down the nets anyway. It was that game. I remember being so upset about just the entirety. That was one of the only times I ever cried as a sports fan.
Whoa.
Because that's not even, there were plenty of other moments, especially with basketball, that are probably worth crying over. But I think, I don't know what it was, but there was something in me that hit that night that was like, this is ridiculous. You have no reason to be this upset over a basketball game.
I can't decide if cutting down the nets after you lose because you won the Big Ten is like a baller move or a dumb move.
I kind of exist in the first camp. I think that's
kids
at the time.
Do you think we care about you Buckeyes?
That's what I think. Like, when it happened at the time, I was like, how dumb? And then I think about it, and I'm like, they didn't even need to win this game to get the big. Like, they already had it in the bag.
We didn't even practice this week. Like, cool. You won a game to finish 7th? Awesome. Right. We won. So I think it's sick. Do you have one, Dustin? Do you want to talk about something in particular here?
I don't know. I don't know if I have one, to be quite honest. I'm sure I do.
Even at like a Pacers game, I could see you getting unhinged at a Pacers game.
I remember I guess I have a couple about the Pacers. I remember when Reggie scored 8 points in 9 seconds. These are not great stories, but that was at my birthday party. I was upset and went outside. And then my dad came running out, a minute or two later, and was like, "Oh, he tied the game. He's gonna, basically that whole thing. He's gonna go to the line to give him the lead." And so we all rushed back into the house. The one I remember was when Reggie pushed off MJ and hit that 3 in Game 4 to tie the series. My good luck charm at the time was to stay in my room and watch the games in my bedroom. And I ran out into the living room to celebrate with my parents. And they both looked at me and screamed at me, "Get back in there." Until the clock hit
Your
zero.
Parents would get along with my mom for sure. We went on spring break the year that that Indiana made it to the national championships against Maryland.
Yeah.
And we had to paint or cut out our bodies on paper so she could tape them to the wall in the places that we usually were for the game, so you didn't mess up the superstitious.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So there's only a little superstition going on there.
So that didn't work out too well, though, unfortunately.
We were there for all the Final Four, so it worked 50%.
Oh, okay.
It did work 50%. They beat Oklahoma and then lost to Juan Dixon and Steve Blake. It's a heck of a team.
What a combo.
I won't talk about all of the stuff that I will talk about.
He's got a laundry list of examples.
I came in with a little extra fire this year with Nebraska. And the reason for that stems all the way back to the year 2000, the 2000-2001 season, when the Miami Hurricanes played Nebraska in the national championship. I was 8. And I had just started understanding polls and who people think are good. And we didn't have YouTube, so I couldn't consume the content at the rapid rate that I am currently, but it really made me mad. I watched Miami all year, and they wouldn't put them above Nebraska. I didn't watch Nebraska a single second. All they would talk about is this dork, Eric Crouch, who actually I think is awesome and does really cool stuff for the state. He's actually a really cool person. But to me, he's this dork that couldn't even throw the ball, and they gave him the Heisman Trophy, even though Miami had all these guys. So as an 8-year-old, I was very annoyed at the Cornhuskers. And Miami beat them by 40 in the national championship. And all of my pent-up aggression from 8-year-old Mitchell came out. I was reminding every Nebraska fan that they ain't done nothing since 2000 when the Hurricanes put the torch out. And that caused some ruffled feathers. I had some interesting interactions with some Nebraska fans as well. They were all caused by me, 100%. But I think the worst one, I've got two. I got a funny Pacers one. I was lucky. I sat in the second row for a Heat Pacers playoff game.
Yep.
So I'm watching LeBron do what LeBron does. I'm just mad because nobody can stop him. He's the greatest player. You can say whatever you want. He seemed pretty dominant. Can't imagine there's other people that were as dominant as him, at least at that time. And I'm yelling at the refs he's got to be cheating. I use the word cheating. He's got to be cheating. He's got to be cheating. And at one of the timeouts, the ref came over and said, "Man, you got to stop saying that or I got to kick you out of here." He came over to me at the timeout and told me, and I wasn't even mad about it. I was just more what do we even do? So that was a bad example, but that reminded me of the Pacers stuff. But the worst one by far, not even close for me. Indiana played in the Gator Bowl against Tennessee. And if you know anything about Tennessee fans,
Oh yeah,
they're scary. A little bit like the Indiana fans you were sitting next to.
Yep.
And they see little old Indiana come walking in here, and the Hoosiers are stomping them. And I'm letting Rocky Top know all about it. I don't even know where my seat was. I didn't sit in it once. I'm up and down the rows talking crazy to anyone I can talk to. Like, go back to the hills, all this nonsense. This is so stupid. Like, I live in Indiana. Like, what am I talking about?
Were you by yourself, by the way?
No, mom, sister, Laura was there. My buddy Trenton. I'm a psycho. Absolutely. I'm just fired up, dude. We don't know how to act. I'm not sure the college football world is ready for Indiana. They're not ready. We've got all these. All you need to know is follow the basketball team for 5 seconds, like basketball Twitter. We're all so stupid, all of us, and we're unrealistic, and we don't really understand what we're talking about, and we just scream it as loud as we can. So I'm not sure that the college football landscape is ready for Indiana to continue what they're doing. But I'm yelling. I knew a guy there that was a Tennessee fan. I asked him where he was sitting. I walked all the way to him, sat next to him, and called him whatever I was calling him for 3 quarters. And then we collapsed, dude. We collapsed.
Oh, man.
And I have to go into hiding. There were like people ready to fight me. It was all bad. I had to leave the game early. It was all bad. So I deserve that. I was a little bit of a psycho, a little bit passionate. I've since toned down just like a small fraction.
Did you get a talking to after that by your family who was there with you?
No, my mom's crazier than me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, she was right there with me.
She was stomping up and down the stands, yelling at fans.
Yeah, she don't care about nothing. She is fired up, dude. This has been our identity. We like a couple of teams. We don't really like anything else. We don't have any shows. This is what we watch. These are our people. And when our stuff's rolling, our stuff gets rolling. So I wear this. I mean, you're supposed to like have an actual personality. During the fall, college football is my personality. So we wear it right on our sleeve. And with that being said, dude, game day, are you going or what? When does Louisville play, John?
So this weekend is a weekend that I already had out of town. So I won't be doing anything this weekend. I won't even be able to watch the game until Sunday afternoon.
Oh, which
is very hard. It's very not fun.
Where are you going?
I'm going to a place in the woods called White Mills.
Don't care. I was supposed to go to my aunt's. She's my godmother. She's having a cookout. She's never had a cookout. She's been unbelievable. And I'm going to get some judgment from this. My grandma is actually learning that I'm not coming when she listens to this. I'm not going to that. What are you talking about? I was going to go, and then just Nick Saban, Pat McAfee, Kirk Herbstreit, and the boys are just going to be on campus for the first time in ever on a Saturday. And we're 7-0, and hopefully our quarterback plays okay.
Shout out Taven Jackson.
It feels magical.
You've said that, and then so far you've helped me believe in the magic because nothing that has happened on the field has disproven the magic. I guess that's the only.
All this letdown spots, they punch me right in the face with the oh, you thought this was a letdown? How about this? And it just hits you so hard. So sorry, Aunt Linda. I love you. Thank you for being awesome to me, but I am not coming to the cookout.
Thankfully for me, this will be the last. This was the last preempted. Like I already knew this weekend, and then the weekend that they played Maryland were the two that I weren't going to be present for. But every remaining game, so they better not screw this up. See, whenever I didn't see the Maryland game, I was so stressed out at Louder Than Life, I couldn't stop checking my phone. And then when I saw they were taking care of business, I was like, okay, I can not worry about this right now and watch it later. I'll be doing the exact same thing if I even have cell service where I'm at on Saturday. So I'm recording game day and the game. And here's the thing: if they lose, I won't watch game day at all because that'll feel like a complete waste of time. But if they win, I'm going to watch all of it on Sunday.
I taped Miami because they played at the same time as Indiana this week, and I went to the Indiana game because Miami won. Watched every second. Louisville scored 45 points.
Yeah.
Watched all their touchdowns, laughing at them like, "Ooh!"
Because you had no reason to there was no stress involved because you knew what was going to happen.
None. But I will say this: I think if you go back, rewind the tape, hit that, rewind it back. Little John got the whatever. If you go back to probably the first episode of In Touch with you, John, I think we talked about Washington as being the scariest game on the schedule. And that was when we thought 8-4 was going to be a good record. And the reason that I think it's scary is because everybody thinks they suck. And Washington's just always tough. They got the Island Boys that are just going to be big and physical. They move people around on offense. I'm more nervous about this, by far more nervous about this than I've been any other game this season, for sure.
I don't know what it is. Something about I think this is all based on Cignetti, and I know we're diving really hard.
This is a football
stuff specifically.
Yeah, I don't
it's
think
so hard not
you
to
listen to
right?
this. You probably know the Hoosiers are 7-0.
Yeah,
and you have one absolute psychomaniac that just admitted that he almost got beat up by the state of Tennessee. So yeah, he's probably going to talk about the Hoosiers.
Well, something about Cignetti in the presser this week having like full confidence in Taven, that just eases my mind that nothing's going to be an issue this weekend. I don't know why. I've never had this level of confidence that Indiana's just going to continue to take care of business. Maybe that's a dangerous place to be because I don't think I've ever been in this place before.
It's a dangerous place. This is funny. So
you don't want to live here, John.
No. I appreciate
too comfy.
Maybe this is a bad thing. I don't know if someone was doing this to me, if I would appreciate it nearly as much, but how dismissive he is of things. And almost
you think Cignetti's dismissive?
Unintentionally, yeah. In his post-game presser, he was talking about Nebraska, and he said, that's a team with a lot of tradition, a lot of physical players. They had done some good things. A lot of people in the national media thought that was a really good team.
Oh, I loved that comment.
I love it, dude. Just absolutely dismiss these guys. People thought they were good. They're not. I don't know, man. I'm all fired up. It's historical stuff. This feels like once in a lifetime. I think I told you that.
Dustin's Dustin, honestly, there is a level of me that feels bad for you with you being a Purdue fan, but it's not because I don't enjoy seeing Purdue suck. It's because both Mitchell and I were where you were for like the last 3 years.
For sure. No,
bro.
I would
this
be
is when one of us
you guys.
has happiness
in
sports. When one of us has happiness in sports, it needs to be celebrated.
I agree. I
have been sad for 25 years.
Right.
If Purdue was the best team in the country, we'd be talking about the Boilers. Like you can't deny it. It's when you're happy, you're rolling, you're vibing, everything seems a little brighter.
For sure. I wish there was like two different Indianas. Like I wish there was the Indiana I could dislike and then the Indiana that you guys like and I could cheer for them. Do you know what
100%.
But you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. You always
do have something that we can all cheer for tomorrow night. Mr. Yellow Shirt.
Oh yeah.
Pacers are back. The NBA's back.
Yes. The entire state rallies.
Pacers are back, baby.
It's what brings Indiana and Purdue together. I don't know. Does the Colts bring Indiana and Purdue together? I don't really get a gauge on that.
It depends on if they're actually going to spend money on players that are good or not.
I feel like Colts fans are just kind of like in the background right now. Like, okay, this is a waste of our time right now. We'll come back when they're good type of thing.
I am paying attention to the Colts, and usually I don't want to say I'm like a diehard fan, but I like to know what's going on. I like to follow them, but I've desperately had to follow them this year because I want one team to win that I follow. But I did buy Matt Taylor, the radio guy, play-by-play for the Colts. He has his own shirt on the Shop Indy, and it says touchdown INDY. So I bought that as a shout out to Matt Taylor. I guarantee he is not listening to one episode of Out of Touch, but I will text him when I get my shirt. I'm fired up about it.
That place is actually pretty sweet. The shop,
it is sweet.
They've got some really cool stuff.
And it's relatively
Andre Booker is like a model for them. You guys remember him?
Who?
Andre Booker. He's a wide receiver. at Indiana walk-on.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
He's a bum. He's one of my really good buddies. But he introduced me to them because he was modeling for him or whatever.
Nice.
They've got some cool stuff, really cool hats and stuff. I don't know.
They do. They did like 50% off, so I got like 2 shirts for $20.
Okay, I see. What else you got, John, dude? I talk way too much about football. I kind of hijacked this whole thing.
No, I really had no. This was one. I feel like maybe we've had a couple of episodes in a row where I'm like this with no real like agenda. Just because, as I mentioned at the beginning, like the show what it was. I feel like it's always kind of had this identity of just kind of being whatever. Where we're goofy. We kind of just talk about some of the most nonsensical stuff. We talk about our personal lives, and sometimes we talk sports, maybe a little bit too much. But I don't know, something about this. One thing I'm hoping with the doing this every other week, I'm hoping to feel less burnt out and feel more. I was talking with Dustin about this last week too, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I guess. Just wanting to be able to enjoy just coming on here and hanging out, and I've enjoyed that so far. But
what episode number is this? Do we know?
This is number 60, and I do believe we've said on, I don't know if it was, I know we've talked about this at least in a discussion, whether it be outside or on the show or not, but saying we would get to at least 100 episodes. It's still a goal, but I'd love to, just always have it as an option, even if we don't ever do it consistently, that type of thing.
So we've gotten through 59 episodes, and we haven't had a majority. We've had some sports talk, but I don't think it's ever driven the conversation.
During the Pacers playoff run, I feel like the Pacers playoff run was a big talking point back in the spring.
It's topical stuff.
It is. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with sports talk.
I did. All right. So because we always do this and we never do it when it's appropriate, Halloween candy. What's your favorite?
So we do.
Your most
Dustin
hated?
and I typically talk about holiday things that don't pertain to the holiday
Halloween
that it actually
candy?
is.
Lots of questions about this.
This is my first year to really have to buy Halloween candy for neighbors that I know. Last year I lived in a house, but I didn't really know any of the neighbors and no one came. So all I did is eat all the candy.
That's what I usually do.
This year I think we'll get some trick-or-treaters from some of the neighbors. I don't really know what to do. I don't really want to buy them big candy bars.
Just frighten them.
Bad for you.
Just get some sort of mask and scare the hell out of them.
Dress up like a Tennessee fan and just do what you did at the Gator Bowl, but just start marching around your house screaming at people.
I could just sick Frank on him. We had a little bit of a dog situation that you experienced, John. Frank got under our fence.
He got under your fence and got out?
He chased somebody.
Oh, a human.
Yeah. He's just fired up to see him. But Frank is a scary dog when he comes running at you. So we had to deal with that little situation.
How did that go then?
Not great. Dad was very mad. It was 2 kids getting off the bus.
Oof.
They were actually going to the bus. It was 9:30 in the morning. They missed the bus hours ago. But one of the kids was going to pet Frank. The other kid was very scared and started running away from Franklin. Franklin thinks oh, I want to play. And he's a little bit of a jumper. So he jumps on you.
Yeah.
This kid did not like that. Fell down. All bad.
Man, getting under the fence, that's a nimble.
We got a little chain link, and on one of the corners it flares a little bit, and I just hadn't fixed it yet, and he just went he didn't even have to duck down that low. He just got out of there.
That turned that into a priority pretty quick, didn't it?
Yeah, it's fixed now. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So maybe I'll just sick Frank on all the Halloween trick-or-treaters and keep all the Reese's to myself.
I think
you see, Dustin, were you around for the dog? I won't tell the whole entirety of it, but did you ever hear the dog story?
Yes, I was here for that episode.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was just me and Mitchell. I couldn't remember, but
so our neighbors, the street is kind of sloped, so their backyard is up higher, sits higher than ours, and they also have a dog. It's probably 6 to 8 months old, and I looked outside one day. I let Biscuit out. And this dog is very excited. It's still a puppy, right? A lot of energy. there's a fence, and then there's like I don't know what you would call like a almost like a landing space. The dog was excited to see Biscuit and jumped the fence. So for about an hour I had 2 dogs. There was no problem. They didn't fight. They just kind of played. But I was like, it's a traditional, like Mitchell said, it was a chain link fence. Like that dog had to jump high and then trust its footing. So
and just went after it.
Yeah.
And I respect it. Dogs are actually terrifying if you really think about it. Like they were feral, carnivorous creatures. And somebody was just like, yeah. Let me go after that guy.
Those things.
And now they're wimps. Absolute wimps.
Some of them.
Yeah.
This may be a weird topic, but our friends that we walk our dogs with, we were having this conversation probably about a month ago, and there were so many dogs just outside on this particular day, just hanging out in their families' yards or whatever. And I brought up the idea. I said, what if the neighborhood had like a Hunger Games style event, but it's only with the dogs? Who would survive the longest? And one solution we came up with is that we think all of the German Shepherds would end up teaming up with each other and destroying everybody else.
A German Shepherd is coming that unless there's a Husky.
I don't know that if there is a Husky, it's probably not outside whenever, or at least maybe not visible on our route.
That breed would just annoy the other dogs to death. Because Huskies are howling. They're obstinate. They're loud. They're obnoxious. I've had to live next to 2 of them before.
Right now?
No. Okay. When I was in an apartment, which is actually much worse. Because they just howl constantly. It is so, oh God, I hate those. They look good. Like I would be friends with somebody that had a Husky so I could pet it every once in a while, but I would not want to stay the night at that person's house.
I can only tolerate very certain kind of dog. I used to not be a dog person at all. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
What brought Big Frank into your life then?
Laura. Yeah. I was very okay with never having a dog, never having to feed the dog, never having dog hair all over my house, never having to let the dog out. So Laura starts looking at dogs because I'm okay with none of those things. So she thinks that it's time to look at dogs. She tells me, oh, look at this little one. We should go see it. So we drove 3.5 hours through a tornado, basically. I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, you got to come home with a dog after that.
Right. It was an absolute trap. The dog was Frank. Now we have a dog. Yeah.
Was his name already Frank, or did you all name him Frank? Okay.
It was. I could probably find the original picture of him. We got him when he was like 10 weeks. He was a little guy. And he like jumped right into my lap and fell asleep in the car. So yeah, it was over with from the very beginning. And I decided that I was a dog person eventually, but it took me some time. I did not want a dog.
It's a shame he's not in the room with you right now. He does tend to visit on camera every now and again.
It's probably biting Laura. That's his new thing. It's pretty exciting.
I bet she loves it.
Just like nip at you, because he used to be numero uno.
Oh, so he's jealous.
So he wants attention.
He is not numero. He might not even be numero dos or tres currently. Maggie exists 1, 2, and 3 far and away. So he kind of has to chill for now. Once Maggie is a little bit older, they're going to have a blast together. But for now, Frank has to chill. And Frank is not quite 3, so he still has a lot of juice in his body.
By the way, how much stock do you actually put into Maggie Paige being the reason that Indiana and Miami haven't lost yet? I know we've briefly mentioned that before.
Well, she's 14-0, so.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what if they never lose? What I know we kind of humored this the other day too, but would you be at all in conflict if they played each other in the college football playoff?
Yeah, it'd be a major conflict.
Really?
Major conflict.
This does surprise me.
Major. And you have to understand why, like where I'm coming from.
Yeah, because Miami was your first love, right?
Of any sport.
Yes.
I wanted to run out of the smoke with a U on my helmet when I was 3. My room when I was growing up had an orange ceiling, white top, and brown or green bottom half. Like,
you went to a Miami like camp, right? When you were in high school?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they invited me down for a 1-day camp, probably just because they wanted my money, but I didn't care. I got invited on Monday. I got the big letter in the mail, like, you're invited, with the University of Miami letterhead, big Mitchell Paige, you're invited. So yeah, obviously we get on a plane, go down there. I slept in the dirtiest hotel maybe in the history of time. I went to a lot of 1-day camps my junior year. Probably did the best at Miami than I did anywhere else. Was dominating. You knew who the good players were. They were wearing orange jerseys. They gave you like jerseys based on offense, defense, or good player. So offense got white, defense got green, and then the good players, the guy they were actually recruiting, got orange. And by the end of one-on-ones, I was going against the orange DBs. And I'm thinking, not only am I going to play at Miami, I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame of this school. Like, and I'm 5'5", 145 pounds or something stupid. No business thinking I can do this, but I was dominating. I really was. I caught every ball, playing in the slot. So I was against some safeties that were like 6'2", 6'3", and they just couldn't get their hands on me because I was so little. And then at the end of camp, we all line up on one side, and they called it the fastest man in camp. Kid next to me doesn't even have his shoes tied. They say go. I wasn't even to the opposite hash before everybody else was finished. I was last in camp by 20 yards in a 55-yard sprint. Like, that is the first time I saw Florida speed for real. So never heard from them again. So maybe I should be a little mad about it, but that was my first love. That was it. That's where I wanted to play. There are maybe putting on the candy stripe pants in IU basketball comes like kind of close, kind of.
Who was the head coach? Was it Randy Shannon? I'm looking at the list of head coaches for Miami.
Al Golden was the coach.
Al Golden was the coach. Oh. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
nice.
They signed Braxton Berrios, I think, in my class, and he turned out to be pretty good and pretty similar to me, except a little taller, a little faster, and probably wouldn't have come in last at the fastest man in camp.
See, this is why I wouldn't think it would be a conflict, because usually you hear those guys, like the school they grew up, if they didn't get recruited, they use that as like fuel.
Yeah.
But you don't hold a grudge.
Not at all. If they gave me a chance to play today, I would immediately stand on the sideline.
I mean, maybe I am rooting it for it to happen because I think it'd be a hell of a game. You'd probably see 1 million points scored.
Yeah. I think the biggest, and this is what I think the reason is here. I think because they exist so far away from me. Like, I've been to some Miami games now, but growing up, I went to one before I was 18. Like, this is a team that I saw on TV. So when I'd go to any other team, Indiana games were awesome, but that was much more real to me.
Sure.
Miami didn't exist on that, like, plane. They always existed outside the plane. So that's why even just being on the practice field for that 1-day camp was like an out-of-body, out-of-this-world experience for me. So I think that's why I don't know. And, like, even this is what's crazy. I've never really thought about it this way, but when I signed with the Chargers in the NFL, there were guys from Alabama. Mike Williams was a 7th pick in the draft from Clemson. I look at him like, whatever. We had Rayshawn Jenkins, who played safety at Miami. And then, why am I blank? I can picture him. Number 52 for the Chargers, played at Miami. What the heck is his name? No. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This is totally killing what I was about to say. It was when I was there. I have to look his name up. Sorry.
See, I was going to try to help you out and see if I could find the.
What year would this been? 2018? Nope, not Khalil Mack.
The number 52.
Denzel Perriman. I should have got that. So those two guys, Denzel Perriman, I think it was all pro 1 year, but they went to Miami. Other than like Phillip Rivers, they were the only guys on the team that I saw as like, wow, that's awesome. Just because they played at Miami. Like the first person that I asked anything about their college experience was Rayshon Jenkins. Like, tell me about it, bro. This is where I wanted to go. He was the same class as me. And they didn't win any games. They weren't even good. But the way he talks about running out of the smoke, it gives me chills just thinking about it. Like they don't sell out their stadium. Even when
it kind of sucks that they don't play in their own stadium. They play in the Dolphins stadium.
They don't have a stadium. So
have they ever had a stadium?
So they had the Orange Bowl. It was still like 45 minutes away. The 2002 or the 2001, 2002 or 2000, 2001 team, one of those teams is considered the greatest team of all time. Like they're both way up there. They had 20 first-round draft picks on the team. Pretty much their entire roster got drafted at some point. And they average like 80% capacity. Like it's not this amazing atmosphere. There's just something about, I don't know. There's just something about them. And I would have a hard time deciding what to do in a scenario where those two, and it feels, so I knew it, John. We talked about this. I'm not allowed to be happy. To have a season like this, where the two teams that I've cheered for 25 years, they both have sucked since Miami got cheated out of the national championship by Ohio State. Chris Gamble can't catch the ball. Catch the ball. Nope. Drop. Pass interference. Cursed me forever. To have them both undefeated and on an absolute collision course, to have one team that I love destroy the other team that I love, it's just, you can't even write that. You can't make that's a terrible, terrible thing that's going on.
I almost want to see the drama play out. I almost am rooting, and then maybe I shouldn't root for this, but I would just love to hear your version of the story if Indiana and Miami were to play. I mean, again, this is, even though they're both unbeaten right now, this is still unrealistic to say, but if they were both for some reason in the national title game, which again, I'm not predicting, I'm just saying what if.
Well, neither of them have lost. My worst case scenario is Indiana as the 8th seed, or in some seed where they host, and Miami being the team that they play. Because I would go to the game, I'd get tickets to the game, and I would have this internal World War III inside Mitchell going on constantly. It'd be the worst day of my life. It's supposed to be this magnificent. There's a college football playoff game in Bloomington. Are you kidding me? And I would remember it. I would remember it with horrible, horrible memories because I would just be sweating and sad no matter what.
Well, let's wrap this episode up on that note. Maybe we'll revisit this conversation down the road because if we're doing these every 2 weeks now, and I know we don't always talk sports, but I mean, if they stay unbeaten, this will always be in the back of your mind.
Yeah, it's all that consumes me constantly.
Dustin, I'm sorry you can't be a part of this unbeaten journey with us this year.
That's okay. You guys enjoy it. I've enjoyed plenty of good seasons.
You got to have a Purdue national runner-up last year for men's basketball.
That's true. That's true. I've enjoyed plenty of good seasons. You guys, you just enjoy it. I have no problem conceding to you.
We won't spit on you.
Yeah, that's big. That's huge.
Might. It's just because I'm yelling. It's not intentional spit.
My tickets are on the other end of the stadium from where Mitchell is.
Probably smart.
Text me, where are you?
Yeah.
Like he's a Tennessee fan. I'm just going to lie to him.
Yeah, that's fair. 100%.
Anyways, so hopefully, one thing I'm hoping to do now that we're only doing these every other week for the time being is to get more organized with my out of touch notes. Because as I mentioned with Dustin a couple of weeks ago, my note sheet for out of touch it's full of so much nonsense that I could just scroll through and pick something random like we did with the Capri Sun bottles and just have that on there. But it's nice to have, but I think I need to organize it and clean it up. So, but good to be back. Hopefully we can keep doing this and at least stay consistent with this new schedule. I do hate when things get in the way because the way my brain works, it really drives me insane. But we'll go ahead and wrap up tonight and get back to it again soon. So for Dustin, for Mitchell, and for Frank, since he was a big part of the show unofficially today,
yes,
this has been another episode of Out of Touch.